A lot on that if the lectures are not recorded. So, it's the role of quality in performance management. So, let me give you a rapport. We always talk of quality, and quality is the benchmark of the firm's success, short term, medium term, and even long term. Because often you hear customers saying, we are not getting value for money. When customers are saying we are not getting value for money, they are simply saying the products which the firm is offering are falling short on goodness of fit test. Goodness of fit meaning you are busy providing something, but it's not fit for the purpose it is intended, to the extent that customers now say we are not seeing value for money. That's a goodness of fit test. So you as a manager, I don't expect you as a manager to always focus on money. How much profit have you made? How much have you made? No. How much sales do we have? Cash balance and stuff? No. When you're doing that, you are focusing on the results, on symptoms. Look at the old adage, this particular thing, value for money. You know, what they are simply saying is money responds to value, nothing else. So what you have to do is not to focus on money, but to focus on value. It's as simple as that. Money responds to value. No wonder why they are saying we need value for money. If you have got value, money follows. That's what it means. So it is then natural and logical for management and directors alike to focus on how best they can consistently and sustainably create value to the customer. It's a logical thing. And in so doing, your strategic capability is boosted. Your ability to excel in the long term is then boosted. But if you focus on money, you are lacking something. You are focusing on the results, not the driving forces for those results. So value for money is a very serious equation, because it tells us that profitability or loss thereof for a company is a function of value the company is creating. You can't be saying, I am creating value, but I don't have money. I'm yet to see such a person. I'm yet to see such an entity, which says it is harnessing its energies on offering superior quality to customers, but there is an inverse relationship with its cash balance, with its profitability. No, there is normally a positive relationship between the two, a positive correlation between the two. Okay, so write this. Quality of output is the most important quality of output is amongst important critical success factors. Is amongst important critical success factors for the firm's strategic capability. Is amongst important critical success factors for the firm's strategic capability. You know, we are saying for you to excel in the long term. That's what we are simply saying. It's one of the important factors for the firm's strategic capability. Write this. Relevant KPIs for quality. Relevant KPIs on quality include. Relevant KPIs on quality include. Relevant KPIs on quality include, you know, key performance indicators on quality that you can come up with. You can measure quality by number of customer complaints, right? That, you know, quality is a bearing on customer satisfaction as well. You can measure quality by looking at number of customer complaints. You can also measure quality by looking at awards won, you know, awards won. Awards won. You know, that's normally at a strategic level. At operational level, you can measure quality by even at strategic level, warranty claims. Warranty claims. Well, these are measures of quality. Warranty. If you are making repairs or replacements under warranty, it's a quality cost. It's a quality measure. Another is you can measure quality by quality costs. That's number 4. Quality costs. Right? Write this. Quality costs, underline quality costs. Actually, let us explain quality costs, because I want you to understand. Other measures you can understand them, but quality costs, allow me to expand it a little bit. Quality costs are of strategic use. Quality costs are of strategic use if they are analyzed into their component parts. Quality costs are of strategic use if they are analyzed into their component parts, you know. Quality costs are of strategic use if they are analyzed into their component parts. What are the component parts? Right, these such as skip a line and say A, prevention costs. Prevention costs. You know, quality costs, there are quite a lot. There are in 4 categories of quality costs. There are costs which we refer to as prevention costs. You know, you know, these are, you may not write this, but you may say A, prevention costs, B, appraisal costs, C, I said A, prevention costs, B, appraisal costs, C, internal failure costs, C, it's internal failure costs, and D, it's external failure costs. So there is prevention, appraisal, internal failure, and external failure costs. Now allow me to briefly explain what each of these cost categories. So all these are known as quality costs. So for you, if you and I incur quality costs for comparison purposes, we need to break down these quality costs into respective components. There's what is called prevention costs. You know, prevention costs are costs of making sure that substandard materials, substandard machinery, substandard unqualified employees, we call them substandard employees also. They don't form part of the production process. That's prevention costs. You are incurring costs to ensure that no substandard materials, substandard machinery, unqualified or unskilled employees, they become part of a production process. So it's a preliminary procedure, prevention costs. So examples of prevention costs are like if you are undertaking interviews. Suppose you are interviewing people before they become employees, it's a prevention cost. It's a necessary prevention cost. When you are maintaining your machinery, making sure that your machinery is up to scratch, it's a prevention cost. Inspection of materials from suppliers. If you are inspecting materials from suppliers, it's a prevention cost. Even if you are incurring some costs to ensure that you buy higher quality materials than what you would normally buy, the extra cost you are incurring for higher quality material is a prevention cost. So that's prevention cost. A key feature on prevention cost is they are incurred before production commences. Then appraisal cost. You know, appraisal cost means we call them cost of conformance. They are simply costs you incur to ensure that components during the production line are conforming with the quality specifications set. That's appraisal cost. As you are producing your goods, your services, is it conforming with the quality specifications set? So if I'm giving you assignment, it's an appraisal cost. It's a necessary appraisal cost if I'm marking assignment. If you are inspecting components during the assembly line, like components are being produced like this, during the assembly line, you are carrying out quality control during, that's appraisal. So you can do performance testing during assembly line. Or if you wait until, suppose you are manufacturing cars, when you are now testing the car after it has been produced, it's an appraisal cost. You are checking whether the car is compatible with the quality specifications you were expecting. So what is a key feature of appraisal cost? a key feature of appraisal cost is necessary cost to conform to quality specifications that you incur during assembly. Then there is what is called internal failure cost. Internal failure cost. It derives the meaning from its term, from its name. The name is internal failure cost. So what it means there is, it is a cost of rectifying damage done. Or a cost of rectifying substandard products associated with substandard products before they are shipped to customers. So an internal failure cost, a customer does not know about it because it's a cost of getting things right before they are shipped to customers. So as an internal failure cost is different from appraisal cost. An internal failure cost, something has failed internally. Appraisal cost, we are simply checking whether it's conforming. When we realize that it is not conformed, the cost of repairing that non-conformance is an internal failure cost. So what are internal failure costs? Issues like production delays because of machine breakdowns, for example. You are busy, you had given a customer a 10-day throughput period. You are like a 10-day cycle, production cycle. And now there are machinery breakdowns, there are wastages, there are breakages along the way. So all these breakages, delays during assembly line because a product which is the product ahead of this particular stage is being repaired because it has failed. All those are internal failure costs. If we are rejecting components, batches are internal failure costs. Costs of re-inspecting after origin. You produce, you check, it fails. You then repair and re-inspect. All costs of redoing things because we are rectifying before we ship to customers. All these costs are known as internal failure cost. So what is the key feature? What tells you that this is an internal failure cost? It must have failed internally before a customer knows about it, before it is shipped. So don't say cost of addressing customer complaint is an internal failure cost. No, because already the customer knows about it. It's no longer internal to the firm. And then there are what we call external failure costs. As the name suggests, it's a cost of rectifying damage done after supplying substandard products to customers. That's an external failure cost. You get that? Like loss of sales. If customers are not happy with your products, you may not get sales that you intended to get. Issues to do with penalties and fines. There are instances you can be given penalties and fines. Suppose it's a drug, you manufacture a drug. Nowadays we are hearing about drug AstraZeneca. It's a drug which is under a very, very intensive care in terms of PR campaigns. It's undergoing because its reputation is, they are saying it causes blood clots, that it's a COVID vaccine. They are saying it causes clotting of blood. And you do notice that it's an internal failure cost. Other countries are now setting commissions of inquiry to see if they can mount legal challenges on AstraZeneca. So what that tells you, those are fines and penalties are external failure costs of your quality. Notwithstanding issues like warranty claims. Something has gotten to a customer, it's substandard, and the customer brings it. We have to replace that product on warranty or to make repairs under warranty. All these are costs which you are incurring. Right. So external failure costs, they are not limited. It's an issue of knowing that it's a cost we incur after the customer has already received the goods. That's an external. That's what distinguishes external failure with internal failure. Internal failure, we are rectifying substandard items internally before they've been delivered to customers. You get that? Now, of particular importance, of particular importance about these costs is the issue of management significance, performance management significance of these costs. If you are a manager and we tell you that these are quality costs, you need to know that they have got what is known as relative significances. They are not like the same. There's a traditional adage which says prevention is better than cure. You know that saying is taking prevention costs and external failure costs, and is telling you that if you want to address this thing head on, to tackle it head on, don't focus more on external failure costs. Because external failure costs are results. Some say garbage in, garbage out. It's another terminology which relates to quality. Garbage in, garbage out. Meaning, when you are now seeing yourself producing garbage, look at the entry point of that garbage. So if they say garbage in, they are saying prevention results in whether the garbage is out or the no garbage out. If you are not preventing garbage in, no wonder why you have got high external failure costs there. So there is what is called negative correlations. Negative correlations. So when we talk of correlations, there are two variables. There's what is called dependent variable, meaning the effect, and there's what is called independent variable. And when we talk of negative correlation, we are saying one is resulting into the other. So normally there is a negative correlation between prevention costs and internal failure costs. There's a negative correlation. If you spend more on prevention costs, you are likely to realize less internal failure costs. And there's also negative correlation between appraisal costs and external failure costs. If you make sure you carry out quality checks during assembly line, remember appraisal is cost of conformance. You are checking whether this is conforming during the assembly line. If you carry out more on appraisal costs, it's more likely to result in less external failure costs. So as a manager, I don't like a manager who focuses on symptoms. A manager should know the cause and effect relationship amongst the cost categories. And a manager should then know how to devote the little resources the firm has when you are addressing issues of quality. You get that? So important. So important. So, in other words, management attention therefore should be devoted towards addressing independent variables, meaning the causes. Other costs are known as independent, whilst other costs are called dependent, meaning they result from not doing those. So you as a manager, don't focus on independent. Don't focus on wastages. You're focusing on why is it you're wasting quite a lot of cement. Why is it you're wasting quite? No, check on the quality of cement you are buying in the first place. Check on the quality of nails or wire that you are buying in the first place. Because this is internal failure as an effect of something. It's not the cause. Correct. So this is now an appraisal that you give to managers. So important. After calculating them and telling cost categories to managers, escalate a step further and say, escalate it, and then let managers know now for their performance management purposes or needs, what is it that they have to make with these costs going forward. Okay. I'm sending a question paper. So I have sent a question paper on You get on our Skype chat. You can actually view it. It's there. Okay. Let me share my screen so that you can equally view it on my screen here. Okay, plenty of open items here. Let me close some. Let me close some to make my information system lean. Let me close some. Okay. Okay. So, all right, let me see this question. Okay. Let me send another question as well. Why is it I do send questions? It's not like I don't trust in your power of listening. I know you listen quite a lot. Yes,
So under which section of the workbook does the issue of quality we are discussing fall into? Because I'm trying to find it in my notes and I can't.
Oh, which notes?
No, as in I was just using the workbook, the BPP workbook. I'm trying to figure out where this particular section on quality is located so that I can read more after.
Well, as in section H, section J, you need to look for the role of quality in performance. Man, let me open a workbook and show you. I get what you are saying. If you are using the BPP workbook, let me show it to you. Let me show you that. This is workbook. All right, thanks. If you are using the workbook, let me. Well, actually, the workbook is not okay. Let me see. Are you seeing my screen, Timmy? Oh, Timmy is gone.
Yes, I can see it.
Okay. Timmy has since gone quiet. Please unmute so that I can show you.
No, I can see. Sorry. I was talking all the time.
It's here, the role of quality in performance management. This is the discussion we are having here. You get that? So today we want to cover all this, what I've highlighted here. This is the workbook. So it's under item number. If you are opening the workbook, it's I don't know what the heck I've opened. It's under item number 11 here. So you can, if for reading purposes, you can go ahead and read this. But I told you last week, when the way we do things at Atlant, we don't follow the logical, the syllabus listing, because here we don't. As for me, you say, I don't even know when I last read the textbooks. I don't even know. I don't even, you'd notice the way I teach you, I just teach you from my head. Because I am an analyst. No wonder why the subjects I teach are analysis subjects. Those are my strengths. If you just give me the syllabus, I just know that what I'm teaching you is in the syllabus. And I like the way I teach you because it's a tried and tested way. You will not fail, believe me. So if you ask me, say, which chapter is this? I don't even know the chapter. Like if you say I am reading this book, which chapter is this? You may find me struggling even to locate it in the chapter because I have never read a textbook for a CCA. I did not do a CCA, but what I did is I did my own degrees and I did CFA. So what I know is when it comes to analysis of performance, I did that in a manner that it's out of this world. And I like, no wonder why I like teaching you guys. And I know what you're getting is out of this world. So believe you me. So give me an excuse there when you find me searching which chapter in the textbook is that. Remember, textbook has got around 22 chapters for APM. But I gave you the program of study. You notice we only have 11. So I had to bring down chapters from 22 to 11, because if we were doing in a textbook approach, we'll need 4 months to complete it, but we need to finish it in 2.5 months. So it is that analysis and understanding that you are here for lectures, because we do it in a jump starting fashion. You know, a jump starting fashion is a fashion where if a car is being jump started, it starts having started, and it's called an accelerated starting. Okay. Oh crap! I deleted the paper I had opened. So here you are, and then this one I'm closing it. So where else do we get? Here you are. Okay. So I've opened these questions for you. These questions are for analysis. I'm trying to let you know and understand this. I'm not going to do the whole paper, the whole question with you. It's December 2017, question 1. Let me read this. Evaluate why, so I'm reading the question. Evaluate why dashboard in Appendix 1 was award-winning as requested by the CEO. So we did this question in last week's lecture. So if you are yet to play the video, please make sure you play the video. Otherwise, it will not work out right, especially on how I have explained it. It is the aspect of how I have explained it which matters. So if you are yet to play the video, you are not doing yourself any favor. And then there is this question. Explain broadly the role of management accountant in providing information for integrated reporting. Again, play the video, guys. You have it from last week's lecture. Play the video. I sent it in our WhatsApp group. Make sure you play that video. I answered these questions in that particular video, and I answered them in a way that if I'm to answer them now, it will take us the whole of this lecture. So no wonder why I'm avoiding it. Now, so can you imagine last week's lecture and this week's lecture alone, you can pass this paper. Calculate target cost gap, that's about quality, and assess how the use of target cost will fit in the total quality management system, 12 marks. Categorize and calculate quality costs at a time, and suggest cost areas to be examined as required by the CEO, and evaluate the relative importance of each category to time, 13 marks. So already you are done. 50-mark question. You can answer this one now after this lecture. Now let me do it this way. Let me do it this way. I need question number 4. Categorize and calculate the cost of quality at time given in Appendix 3. Suggest cost areas to be examined as required by the CEO, and evaluate the relative importance of each category to time. As I have told you that these cost categories have got different relative importance. They are relative importance, of course, they are not the same. You need, some are causes, some are results. So you need to direct management attention to things that matter. All right. So another thing that I said last week, if you play that video, I said, when we say required, when you're answering APM, when you read required, that's not the question. That's a summary of the question. So if you are reading required part like this, this is not the question. Otherwise, you will not answer it as set. This is not the question. It's a summary of the question. The required part, you read it from the case. From the case. So allow me to read it. Allow me to read it. Last paragraph on top of required is saying, the new engine project has further raised the profile of quality as a broad issue at time, and the CEO wants your advice on the costs associated with quality. She needs to know the cost of each of the 4 categories of quality. So she needs to know the cost of each of the 4 categories of quality. She has gathered data in Appendix 3 for this exercise. She is happy that she has identified that prevention costs are complete, but is worried that some of the possible costs for the other 3 categories are missing and needs suggestions of cost areas to be examined to identify these missing items. Finally, she needs advice on the relative importance of each of the 4 categories to time. So you can see here, Charity, that this is the actual question. No wonder why you see this question is even saying as required by the CEO. In other words, this question is telling you that I am incomplete. If the question says you are reading under required part 4, and under part 4 it is saying as required by the CEO, in other words, it is telling you that I am incomplete. You can't answer me by reading this alone. You should go back to see what is it that the CEO is required. It is that part which is the actual question, not this particular question. So the CEO now, he has requested that we come up with the costs for each cost category. That's what the CEO wants to know. And the CEO also said, I'm happy that prevention costs are complete, but the CEO is worried that there are possible missing figures. And then the CEO says she needs suggestions as to these possible missing costs. This is the actual question of the CEO. And she also needs an evaluation of an advice of the relative importance of each of these at time. You read this part, don't go to the question and read and begin to answer from the required question. You read from the case study to understand what CEO really needs. It's not given in the question. You can see that what is given in the question and what the CEO needs are different. So when you are now answering questions, you don't even know that this is not a question. This is simply a summary of the question, and you need to go to the detailed question to see what the CEO needs. Now, the CEO needs the total of each of the cost categories. So what we do is, there are 4 types of costs. We just want to show this. There's prevention cost, there's appraisal cost, there is internal failure cost, and there's lastly external failure cost. So when you're presenting issues to the CEO, remember to mind your presentation. The CEO needs total of each of the cost categories. So this is so you say cost, you are writing it in your exam. You present it in such a manner that the CEO will see this as advice, not just as a piece of paper. And this is classification. The manner you present stuff should be of such nature that if the CEO is to read it, the CEO can conclude that I am being advised, not that I am being confused. So here you are. So I just given you the template. So what you'll be doing is you'll be writing cost, listing the cost, and then classify it under each of the headings. You don't write PCAC, you write in full. Prevention cost, appraisal cost, internal failure cost, and external failure cost. Now let us go over cost by cost in Appendix 3 as per the CEO's request. Now what we are going to do is to tell me how to classify each of these costs in Appendix 3. May you guys mute, Charity? I'm just getting some background noises. Okay. So I'm on Appendix number 3. Tell me which cost is this? Like repairs and replacements under customer warrant. What type of cost is this? You unmute and talk to me.
These are external failure costs because we've already delivered the product.
Yes. So 223. I'm not writing. So you'll be writing like here. It's like warrant repairs. 223. It's an external failure cost. Number 2, customer relationship complaints handling. Talk to yourself, guys. Talk to yourself.
Is it not external as well?
Yes, it's external failure costs, complaints handling. Complaints handling. 56 is an external failure cost. Another cost is performance testing of final assembly. 110.
Internal failure, right?
Performance testing of final assembly.
I think it's appraisal cost.
Yes, appraisal cost. It's not internal failure because nothing has failed so far. Appraisal, you are simply testing for conformance. You are just testing for conformance. That's appraisal. Internal failure, as the name suggests, something has failed internally. So that's a failure. Then another is, you know, to appraise in Shona kwakangofanana nekuraira kana uchiraira muriwo zvere ndokuappraisa. Ini ndogara ndichiraira muriwo. If I pass through the kitchen kana kuti ndichibika ndirini handiraire sezvinoita madzimai zvekutora supu zvere, no. Ini ndotonyatspakura nyama ndoisa mukasosi ndonogara paveranda, you know, and then I begin to appraise. It's not like ndeichidya muriwo, I'm appraising. This is an appraisal cost. I am yes. Not really. What I'm doing is I am trying to see if the components being cooked are conforming to the quality specifications set before they are shipped to the dining. So the bottom line is, if ndikazoona kuti amuna salt, the cost of now adding extra salt now, it's an internal failure cost because it has failed. But the cost of testing, the meter I have taken to test, it's an appraisal cost because nothing had failed then. But of rectifying something after identifying that something has failed, like putting additional salt, or even throwing some meat away, suppose I realize, oh, well, crap, this is not even edible, and I throw it away. All those are now internal failure costs before they get to the dining. Okay, so you have that. The analog is not exact, but it gives you an indication of what I'm saying. Performance testing of sub-components from suppliers. What is that?
Appraisal.
This is not appraisal.
It's prevention.
Prevention cost.
Yes, this is prevention because they are not yet part of the production process. 20.
I thought maybe they said they're already complete. What did they say is already complete?
No, performance testing of subcomponents from suppliers.
No, I understand. No, I'm just saying because the CEO said some of those costs are already complete. So I just thought maybe.
Well, the CEO is saying, yeah, you are right. You then validate why I said we should go back. She needs to know the cost of each of the 4 categories of quality costs. So that's the importance of underlining what the CEO wants. But after you have come up with the costs, she's saying prevention costs are complete, meaning first categorize them, and then having categorized them, know that the category for prevention costs is complete, but she needs to know the cost. You get that? It's like in layman's terms, the CEO is saying, give me the total for each. But from what I've gathered, elements which make up prevention costs are exhausted. I need you now to exhaust the others. That's what she is saying. So performance testing of subcomponents from suppliers, that's prevention costs 28. What else? Cost of re-inspection after repairs arising from final assembly testing. Talk to me. Cost of re-inspection after repairs arising from final assembly testing.
I think it's internal failure.
Internal
cost.
failure.
Yes, it's internal failure cost because you have tested and you realize that the thing is not working. So that's 95. So this is how you present things to the CEO. You'll be like, I'm no longer typing here because of time. Another is training in quality control. It comes under what? If you are training. If you are training.
Prevention?
Prevention, right?
Yeah.
Yes. To train, you train yourself to prevent. Maintenance of inspection equipment. It's like maintenance of an airplane, maintenance of your truck, maintenance of what? You do this for internal failure, for appraisal, for prevention, or what? If you are maintaining, talk to yourself.
You said prevention and?
Yes. Maintenance is prevention.
Prevention.
Good. And then the company spent 92 million in the year buying higher quality raw materials to use in the manufacture. What do we do with 92? It comes under what?
Prevention.
Yes, it comes under prevention. Imagine you had 13 marks for this. Just imagine how easy this subject is. Only if you are smart enough to read what the CEO wants. Imagine how you can unlock value for yourself. Now the CEO wants the total for each of the categories. So you put total here. If it's a report, it's a report. So this one, you can see that it being a report, you can either put this table in a report. It's a nice table which can fit in a report. If you know that you have got issues with neatness, you then write it as appendices. If you know that you can't fit it nicely like this in a report, I would rather advise you to put it in appendix. At least there you mitigate the risk of not being neat. That risk is mitigated because it's already in the appendix. So, right. So the CEO needs the cost. She needs the cost of each of the 4 categories. So this is the total. This is what she needs. And then other information, at board level, I told you, no, I'm yet to tell you. If figures are in absolute terms like this, normally absolute figures. They are not necessarily of use. What you do is you bring them to relative terms. They are saying company's revenue was 11 million during the 11,500,000. So you can now say as a percentage of revenue. Cost per dollar as a percentage of revenue. This is what is now of more practical use to directors. You say this over 11,500. Now you put it as a percentage. You can drag now. If you can put your percentage to yeah, like this, right? Now for a director, this is what directors work with normally. They need to know. So you can now see the figures in yellow are telling us something. CEO wants to know which other cost areas you can examine to complete these gaps. The CEO is saying the figures in yellow are incomplete. How else can you make sure you come up with the figures in green are incomplete? And the CEO wants to know where else can you get appraisal costs? Where else can you get internal failure costs? Where else can you get external failure costs? In other words, from this business that we do of manufacturing jet engines, they manufacture jet engines. So the CEO wants to know, where can we get external failure costs? Where can we get internal failure costs? Because so far they've given us just a few. So internal failure costs, I told you, you can get these from wastages. Raw materials being wasted. That's an internal failure cost. Or even delays during assembly line because some of the prior stages which have gone ahead are being repaired. When a stage of production which is ahead has failed, it needs to be repaired first before other stages can come. So those production delays, idleness of future production because we are delaying whilst other future stages are idle, those costs are internal failure costs, rejections, wastages, idleness, etc. Those are internal failure costs. Appraisal cost, notice, they are testing the engine after final assembly. You know what it means? They are producing the engine without testing it. Until it is done, it is now final assembly. That's when the engine is being tested. Can you imagine the danger of producing the engine without testing it? And then you test it on the final assembly. What it means is you can compound and perpetuate a mistake. You can make a mistake in initial assembly. But because there is no appraisal during assembly line, there's no the appraisal is only there during final assembly. So the danger is you can now need to dismantle the whole engine to correct an error which occurred in initial assembly. So in other words, there should be costs incurred as appraisal cost of inspecting the components during assembly, not final assembly. So inspections during assembly are also appraisal costs. And the CEO wants to know, where else can we get external failure costs? These are jet aeroplane engines. You know what happens when an aeroplane engine catches fire? It may result in customers not boarding that aeroplane for years. You know, there is Boeing 737 MAX, you know, the latest Boeing with a latest spec of accidents. You know, nobody's boarding that plane except in America. You know, the spec of accidents, if you have an aeroplane ticket and clearly you are getting to 737 MAX, you have to pray. Why is that so? It's because of spate of accidents associated with engines and that thing. So what it then means is loss of sales, because aeroplane companies will not buy your engines if there's an external failure cost. Loss of sales from that, penalties, and which can be levied on the all these are sources of external failure costs. Look, I am telling you as the CEO, because you have asked me, where are other possible cost areas to be examined for us to make the other categories complete? I am explaining to you. Notice, as I am explaining to you, I am applying technical content to the case. I am writing the things like jet engines. If there's an engine, aeroplane accident, crash, investigations, normally they direct the investigations, normally at engines. It says the pilot, engines, black boxes will review the case, and if the engine is to blame, the engines for this particular company might not be bought, and loss of sales is another external failure cost. So you'll be telling the CEO that. And then lastly, the CEO wants a discussion on the relative importance of these. Meaning, when the CEO wants relative importance, the CEO is acknowledging that these costs, they don't require equal attention, because some are results of other costs. So you need to tell the CEO in an informed way, in a manner that convicts the CEO to act based on your advice. You are now telling the CEO that, look, normally there's a negative relationship between these costs. As a general rule, prevention is better than cure. So this particular analysis looks at more emphasis being devoted towards prevention costs, as prevention costs have a bearing on all other costs. You get that? This is a general statement. On a particular statement, we are saying negative correlation exists between prevention costs and internal failure costs. If the firm focuses more on prevention costs, it will save on internal failure costs. Also, a negative relationship exists between appraisal costs and external failure costs. And judging by the damage which these costs give to the firm, attention must be given to try by all means to minimize external failure costs, because external failure costs have a bearing on our reputation, even on our ability to excel. Because in this case, external costs, we have now delivered the goods to customers. So how best can we try to minimize external costs? It boils down to the understanding that external failure costs are dependent variables. They arise from independent variables like prevention and appraisal cost. And it is on those cost categories where management attention must be devoted. Unlike what they are doing now. Notice what they are doing now. They are focusing more on external failure costs, 279 million, and look at prevention, 167, and look at appraisal, 110. Yet those other costs are dependent on attention being given to prevention costs. You know what? We don't need a situation, Timmy, where the examiner has to mark your whole paper to give you marks. You know, if you can, you know what? Tell it. What I'm explaining here, you can't find it in an exam. You can't find it in a textbook. And this is the actual lecture you are here for. It is this what you are here for. The ability to convince, to say stuff in a manner which convicts. Can you imagine the way I'm saying it to you? You don't have a choice than to accept it at face value. This is what the examiner should be told. You know, when I'm writing something to the examiner, I last failed an exam when I was grade 5. You know, they used to use red to say you were less than half. That was then. I had, by the grace of God, of course, God has caused me to master the art of answering questions as set. I'm telling you, and you are not immune because I'm teaching you. Okay. Then I just wanted to comment also by saying something. Let me comment by saying something. You have now noticed the issue of costs, that they've got relative importances. It's not like they are the same. No. So what it means is you need to understand the apportionment of responsibilities of quality costs in a complex organization. If you've got a situation where you say you order components from Japan, you order components from Japan, you assemble the components here, and you then say, I order raw materials from Japan, like I manufacture this laptop here. So if you check on this laptop, batteries the battery is made from another company, the keyboard from another company, everything is from another company. But you do notice the laptop I'm using is Lenovo. But if you check, the battery is not from Lenovo, it's from China. This is from what? This is from what? So what tells you is that Lenovo is a key networking partner. It runs this particular laptop manufacturing business on a complex relationship model where it outsources production of components. That's a modular setup. It outsources production of components, which it then assembles into a final product. And then knowledge of how to apportion costs among the supply chain distribution partners is important. You can't bear the responsibility for. Now let us bring it down and talk about Lenovo, which is my laptop here, and how it sources its costs, its components. Lenovo needs to tell whoever supplies batteries and screens and whoever does that to say, you are responsible for prevention costs. And Lenovo must say, I am responsible for appraisal costs and internal failure costs and perhaps external failure costs. If Lenovo doesn't do that, it will result in a situation where Lenovo will manufacture a laptop and the battery may burn the laptop. Like a situation that Samsung, which was burning, if you would use the Samsung for extended periods of time, it would catch fire. Under the circumstances, we need to know who is to blame for such costs. Can you imagine? They had to recall all the Samsung. Normally they do this, these manufacturers. If the braking system, the airbag system for a car is not functioning, they have to recall all the cars they have sold. They have to recall every car and give the money back and refund the money, fix and redeliver. Some will say, we don't no longer need delivery, give me my money back. So we need to understand who then to blame for such costs. It can't be Toyota. It needs to be Toyota and its partners. There should be mechanism in place to say, now that we have recalled the cars, we need to figure out who was to blame amongst the particular costs. What is misfired here was the airbag, was the braking system. Who was in charge of braking system amongst our partners? That is an important thing. And it now becomes strategic. It now becomes strategic. Otherwise, one single event can liquidate the company. If this relationship is not shared amongst this complex relationship, if the knowledge of cost categories is not shared, well, your say says quite a lot. Let me tone it down and focus on what I want to discuss and finish. So, Kami? Right? So if you look at a question like this is another paper, it's March, June 2019. Question, again, you look at the number of marks, 11. On that paper, it had 13. Look at this one now, 11 marks. It is saying, the question is saying, explain 4 quality cost areas and evaluate how to divide the responsibilities for these under the outsourcing contract. One thing that I have told you is, this is not the question. I have told you, that one I have told you. When you are answering APM, don't read the required and say, I have read the question. You have read the summary of the question. This is not the question. So say, what do I do? Here's what you do. You flip back to the question. Under responsibility for quality areas. Now, this is because this is where it is detailed. Then it's saying, the maintenance of existing quality is critical concern for Ford, since it will focus on software as the key selling point, but this will not be sufficient for market success if the hardware does not meet market standards. The CEO wants, so this is the question now. The CEO wants to understand in terms of the 4 quality costs how responsibility for each area should be attributed between Ford and Zella. So I suppose Zella is the company which then supplies the hardware. Ford focuses on software. It's like phone. You know, when Apple come up with iPhone 12, what it does, it just comes up with software for iPhone 12. The hardware and everything is manufactured by other guys. And then they check the compatibility of whatever they've manufactured with the software and deliver to customer. Now, from a customer perspective, we know it's iPhone, but we don't know who was supplying the hardware, who was supplying. So that's the similar case with Ford there. So the CEO wants your explanation of quality cost. He wants an understanding of quality cost and how we can share relationships. I mean, responsibilities of these quality costs between Zella, I suppose, the supplier of hardware, and ourselves. So it's a matter of explaining to the CEO what prevention costs are. First, explain everything. And always give examples from the case. Don't say prevention costs may include training, may include interview. No, those are general examples. If we give you a company which manufactures a cell phone, prevention costs may actually include making sure that software developers are adequately trained with requisite skills. Machinery which is used in software research is maintained. Those are now prevention costs. Don't just say prevention costs include maintenance of machinery as if we are talking of making peanut butter. You need to make sure you relate to the case, not to peanut butter when you are giving you the case of iPhone, Apple. Then you have to tell the CEO what appraisal costs are, giving examples about that particular business, not giving examples about any other thing. Like when a teacher is giving assignments to students, it's an appraisal cost. Yet we are telling you that this company manufactures cell phones. They are busy giving teacher assignments. And then you talk about internal failure costs. Please give examples to the case. When they say explain, means tell the CEO as if he doesn't know anything. He does not know anything. Tell him as if he is tabula rasa, is blank. You are filling in the blanks. That's what explanation means. If you're explaining things to me, you are explaining in such a manner that I don't say says who. Can you imagine how I'm explaining things to you? You are my CEO who wants to understand, and I'm busy explaining. It is the same state and level that you should portray in the exam. To convince, that is to explain, to communicate well and convince. So you then have to tell external failure costs contextual to the case, and then you say the business model of this firm. Now, bring quality costs to the business model. It outsources components, hardware, and then install software into the hardware to come up with a finished product. So the service, the contractual agreement, outsourcing agreement should specify who is responsible for what. Because overall, if these phones or final product fails to perform, it is fault, meaning the outsourcing part, the main outsourcing partner is the one to blame. But it can't have capacity to be all costs in an outsourcing environment. There should be quality and control procedures put in place to make sure that outsourcing partners are reliable in terms of their commitment to tender specifications and commitment to quality. They should be there in the case, and that would involve, so you would set prevention costs. You would give prevention costs to these guys who are supplying hardware, and the terms might look like, if 5% of the hardware supplied is fault, the entire batch is rejected. You can punish them that way. To say, you'll be supplying us with wind screens, for example. If we realize that 2% of the wind screens are broken, the entire batch of wind screens, if it was 10,000 that we have supplied, we return it back and you manufacture a new batch. Those are strict quality specifications to be met. So the supplier of hardware under this arrangement might be responsible for prevention costs. So if the thing fails and we realize that it was a hardware issue, it would tell us that the person was not good at preventing costs. So we attribute that cost to the, if the customer is to bring and we are to repair under warrant, it is that person who should bear the repairs. Are you getting it? We should get the new hardware for free from this person, because in terms of the contract, all this should be specified. Unlike a situation where I will bear the responsibility only because I bought hardware from you. So if it's an outsourcing contract, we have to share the blame. Okay, guys. Write this. You can write as a single point. Just write responsibility for quality costs. Responsibility for quality costs need to be assigned amongst partners in an outsourcing relationship. Responsibility for quality costs need to be assigned amongst partners in an outsourcing relationship. In an outsourcing relationship. In an outsourcing relationship. Write this. If the firm outsources supply of components, if the firm outsources supply of components, if the firm outsources supply of components, comma, normally the component partner, the component supplying partner must be responsible for prevention costs. Normally the component supplying partner must be responsible for prevention costs. Okay. Right? I'm sure those who play the video, you take cognizance of what I'm saying here. What I'm saying here is serious stuff. I don't want my student to be in a situation where, as an examiner, we have to mark number 3 to know that we have passed the paper. Always to give you second, to give you benefit of doubt. No, we should mark number 1 and do away with benefit of doubt. Question number 1 should tell us should profile my student right away. And the examiner will know that, let me get this student over, at least this student, he knows the stuff. Knows the stuff. Right, approaches to quality. What's the subheading? Approaches to quality. Approaches to quality. So, I indicated when Timmy asked about the workbook. No, notice I opened a workbook and it was close to half a page of things that we have to discuss under quality. But as I said, I'm good at summarizing them to stuff which doesn't even take us long. Some I will explain jointly and so forth. Just in time. All these are approaches to quality. Then we have got total quality management. For quality management. Then we have target costing. Target costing. Then we have Kaizen costing. Then we have got Kaizen costing. And then we can also say we have Six Sigma. Six Sigma. So Six Sigma is DMAIC methodology. That's Six Sigma. So we shall be discussing these. You know, there are other approaches to quality, like quality accreditation boards, like ISO, ISO 2020, International Standards Organization. These are international standards on quality. So they come up with what is called quality checklist. If you want to, I'm already explaining them. I have not listed them because those I can cover just by explaining. If you want to get an ISO certification, what it means is you apply for that ISO certification. They upgrade their quality standards. So if you are applying for ISO 2020 to be the latest, and notice ISO 2020, if you are to get it, it looks at whether you have digitalized your operations or not. You have to digitalize your operations. If you don't digitalize your operations, it's highly unlikely that you can get ISO 2020. It's not possible. Even hospitals, they are now making e-booking, doctors e-appointments. You are now making an appointment with doctors online. They now have computer packages, software packages to gather information systems which are digitalized, with patients making appointments online and getting prescriptions online. That's e-medication, introducing internet business to the medical field. So gone are the days when doctors were known to read medical journals. The medical journals which would be published once a year, like Lancet. It would produce a medical journal once in 2 years, and that's when the doctor would get the news. And nowadays, you'll be stunned as a doctor. You'll be left with no customers, and customers will be going to doctors who are moving with time, who are embracing e-medication. E-doctor, I don't know how to put it, but they're doing that. So I am a consultant for this. I actually did consults at medical chambers there, and I told them that you guys, gone are the days when we used to read medical journals once in 2 years and you think you are up to date. Nowadays, you need 2 weeks, 3-month revolving plans on how you can digitalize your systems, because nowadays a client from Marlborough is getting prescription from a doctor in Spain. It's not possible. Doctor in Spain can just send me something on my phone. They've got a software, an application. They can say, show me your tongue. You show them your tongue. Your eye, you show them your eye. While the doctor is in Spain. And before you know it, you are given prescriptions to buy medicines at Westgate. And where are our doctors? They're just thinking people would clamor to come to. Oh. So, what was I saying? There is what is called ISO 2020, and ISO 2020 borders on digitalization. Remember, your subject is performance management, and I'm teaching you as the final level subject. What I'm teaching you is the last. So I have got an obligation to teach you like not students. I can't be even teaching you as a student, but as directors of a multinational company, so that you, from this lecture, you can enter into any company and begin to function. Not to get confused and to be stunned by languages. Center number 1, ISO 2020 requires digitalization, knowledge of your mission and vision, and synchronize your mission and vision into critical success factors of the day, which make the firm competitive. So if you apply for ISO certification, they would give you a checklist, things that they want you to adhere to before they certify you. So if you apply it for now, you don't get approved the next week. No. They can give you 6 months to apply what they have told you. And after 6 months, they carry out what we call preliminary checks. Are you now cognizant with what you must be doing? Is everyone aware of the firm's mission, critical success factors, how to attend to customers of the day? And they then carry out a final test and you get your ISO certification. It is valid for a given period of time, and they may send auditors to see if you are sticking to the terms and conditions of the certification. That's another approach to quality, and that one is ideal. ISO certification is a marketing tool. It tells managers, it tells customers and stakeholders that here we take quality seriously, guys, and can consider we are endorsed. We got an endorsement from these guys. So, but another approach to quality is just in time. Just in time approach is an approach to quality. It's a pool manufacturing approach. We know it as a pool manufacturing approach, just in time. It's where you order components or initiate production processes when there is demand for it. So if we are producing components on an assembly line, we order materials required at next stage of production if components are at the previous stage. As components get to this stage, we then place an order for the components required at the next stage. Because components, materials are ordered when there is demand. It's coming through the assembly line. We don't order materials for the entire assembly line at once, no. As we are working on the first stage, we order materials for the next. When you get to the next, order materials for the third. That's a pool manufacturing. Or if we can employ it on any other, if a customer gives us an order, that's when we initiate production. Now you may say, we know what just in time is, and in what way then is it an approach to quality? Because we are discussing quality. Just in time is an approach to quality because you produce when a product is ordered, when a customer is waiting, so there's no room for mistakes. So you are being conscientized to produce quality goods under a just-in-time environment because there's no room for mistakes. You are ordering goods while the customer is waiting. You get that? When the order is there. So for you to implement just-in-time from the setup of it, it requires multi-tasked, multi-skilled employees. Employees, because we wait for the customer to place an order, and customer may give us different specifications. So just-in-time requires multi-skilling or multi-skilled employees. In as much as it requires multi-skilled, imagine you manufacture cakes, wedding cakes, birthday cakes. One may say, I need a cake with Arsenal football team. One we may say, I need a cake with a soldier holding a gun. One may say, I need a cake with this. So that's what just-in-time does. You don't manufacture cakes and they say, I have them all. No. You wait for the customer to specify, I need a cake with a soldier holding a gun, with an Arsenal football team. With what? So under the circumstances, you then have to be multi-skilled. Even if when we're using production machinery, it must be flexible. We need employees to be multi-skilled, machinery to be flexible, because they work hand in hand. Multi-skilled employees require flexible machinery. Then another thing is a close relationship with suppliers. It needs close communication, close relationship with suppliers. And these suppliers must be willing to offer more frequent, small quantity deliveries. They must be able to deliver more frequently, but in small quantities. And they must be committed and reliable in terms of their quality, in terms of how they view quality, and tender specifications. Meaning, should we change the specifications of the order, they should also change and supply, because we wait for the customer to give. So we would say, please bring it in yellow. So if the color was green, they have to change the color to yellow. So they have to respond to tender specifications like that. That's just in time. Notice, I have escalated it from performance measurement to management. You may wonder, why is this your subject being performance management, not measurement? Though measurement it's a vital raw material for management. But the bottom line is, I defined just in time. I said it's a pool manufacturing approach where we order components as when needed. That is basically it. But how then can we operationalize it in an organization? That is called performance management. Now, how can you manage performance using just in time? Make sure your employees are multi-skilled. Make sure your production processes or machinery is flexible. Make sure there's close contact and relationship with suppliers. Ensure that suppliers are reliable in terms of their commitment to quality and responsiveness to tender specifications. All these now are aspects of performance management in a just-in-time environment, right? And then we do have total quality management, TQM. As you know, total quality management derives its name from total quality. In other words, because it's total quality. It's a maxim. It's a maxim. In other words, you can't get it you can't get it in practice because it's a maxim. It's as good like perfect competition. We were told that perfect competition requires perfect information, product homogeneity, large number of suppliers and customers, so that no single supplier, no single customer is significant. And that market, we called it perfect competition. And there's no such market. That was the conclusion. Then you wonder, why is it we are learning about it? And then when you come to total quality management, it's a maxim which is premised on zero defect philosophy. It's like it's an extreme approach to taking matters of quality so serious that it functions in an environment of zero defect. Quality should be first time. That's total quality management. It requires you as a firm to use all your resources, relationships, all your resources, meaning physical, human, financial, informational, technological, and even the relationships at your disposal, both internal and external, in pursuit of quality. No wonder why we call it total quality management. We are using everything at firm's disposal in pursuit of quality. Okay, so what are the requirements of TQM for you to implement total quality management? Are you not seeing something? If I don't show you, you may overlook it. I read a question for you, but I didn't highlight it, which was question number 3, which said, calculate target cost gap for the new engine using data in Appendix 2 and assess how the use of this target cost will fit in the total quality management approach. Now, these questions, you shall come across them over and over, especially in advanced performance management, which say, does this fit? That was 2017. If I open 2019 question paper, it again says, respond to the CEO's request on target costing, 10 marks. So imagine, these were 21 marks, target costing and quality costs. On this paper, these were 25 marks, target costing and quality costs. If you open as many papers as you want, you'll be shocked by how quality carries a lot of marks, and the relevance is a firm excels when it is producing quality goods. I told you that money is a measure of value, meaning don't focus on money, but focus on creating value and see if you will not get money. Otherwise, you are chasing shadows. If you are focusing on money, focusing on creating value and see if money doesn't come your way as a company. So no wonder why in an exam we always ask questions on quality. It's amazing how students say the question on quality was not there because of, or actually it will be lack of exam practice. These questions on quality, even if it's not examined, but the manner in which you explain some of the concepts, the examiner may know. If I had brought a question on quality, this person would have batted it. It would have received a gut punch. Okay. So the question I read for you was saying, does target costing fit into, if I say, does this phone fit into this glass like this? To answer that question, you don't answer it in a hunch. No, you say, what are the characteristics of the glass? What are the characteristics or requirements for a phone? Are these characteristics compatible? As your conclusion. If they are compatible, so they fit. So if they say calculate target cost gap and then tell us whether the target costing fits into existing total quality management, they are simply telling us, do you really know what target costing is and what it entails? Do you really know what total quality management is and what it entails? Now, these parameters upon which these models are based, are they compatible? If yes, they can fit. If no, they can't fit. That's your conclusion. That it's a judgment using information from the case. So when I'm saying requirements of total quality management, Charity, don't expect a question at your level, which is saying, what are the requirements of total quality management? No. It is indirectly asked. They say, this company wants to introduce target costing. Can it have target costing and total quality management as a hybrid system? Can these things fit? So you can, I shall talk about target costing shortly. You shall notice that they fit to an extent. But let me focus on this for now. So what we are saying here is, these are the requirements for total quality management. Number one, it requires commitment from everyone in an organization towards quality. From the top, from directors through to the shop floor, to the operating core, everyone must be committed to quality. And by total quality management, we are not saying quality with regards to customers. Even your communication and your dealings as employees inside the company, you must make sure that I should not give my peer employee, my boss, I should not give them trash. Make sure whatever you're giving or communicating to is of quality. That's total quality management, because it requires internal and external relationships to be used in pursuit of quality. When we say it requires top-level management, it means if you want to implement total quality management, you must make sure that quality is amongst the critical success factors in the firm's mission. Top-level managers are driven by mission. They are driven by vision. So if you want to implement total quality management and there is no quality as a critical success factor in the mission, it's a defect, because it's likely to result in lack of top-level commitment. So if you show me your mission, if you can only show me your mission, I can tell if you are pursuing quality by deducing critical success factors from your mission. Do they include quality? If the answer is no, it means there is no top-level commitment towards quality. But if I can see quality amongst the critical success factors and show me your performance dashboard, and I see KPIs incidental to quality or relating to quality, then I can tell that there is top-level commitment towards quality, as evidenced by quality inclusion in the mission and key performance indicators which enable directors to drive the company forward with regards to quality. So that's one. Number two, it requires a change of culture. It requires a change of culture. You know, quality requires learning. It requires even learning quality. The organization should desist from status quo. We can't have an organization which is reluctant to change. It doesn't require what we call ossification. You know, we don't want managers in an ossification mode. Managers who are reluctant to change cannot be fertile recipients of total quality management. No, it doesn't work out that way. Managers must be willing to embrace change. Another requirement for total quality management is that the reward systems, because we want commitment to quality. If you want commitment, don't ignore rewards. The reward systems must be modified to accommodate outstanding commitment to quality, to recognize and remunerate outstanding commitment to quality. Especially if you can modify your rewards to also have some elements to do with quality. So if it's a college like this, we may have reward systems to say if you score 100, if you have 100% pass rate in your class as a teacher, this is how much you'll be getting. So that we foster outstanding commitment to quality, unlike saying, never mind, no matter what you come up with, still you are on a fixed remuneration. That one doesn't work that way. Then there's another approach which is called target costing. Can you write that? Target costing. Now, for you to understand target costing, for you to understand target costing, it is important for me to give take you to give it to you step by step, so that it makes sense to you. Target costing. You realized that target costing, examiners, they always ask it, and you noticed it from the questions I read to you there. Let me say, you have written target costing, and I want to give you a heads up as to what this is really about. There is what is called traditional costing. You know, traditional is what we always do, like marginal costing, absorption costing, VTC, whatever you call them. These are called traditional costing because they are applied over the years and they are common in use. Let's say you do manufacture suit, like a suit. You are a suit manufacturer, and the cost of the suit is $600. That's the cost of the suit, and then you require profit on the suit. Profit that you add is $400, and you are selling the suit at a price of, which is selling price. You are selling the suit for 1,000. That's your selling price for the suit, and your profit margin. Meaning, remember, margin is profit as a percentage of sales, which is 40%. That's your margin. Now, this is how you are manufacturing the suit. And you know, with this approach of manufacturing the suit, it is like this. If a customer comes and say, I have $900, because you are selling the suit for 1,000, you won't supply the suit to the customer because the customer doesn't have enough money. If the customer says, I have $990, you won't supply the suit to the customer because the amount is not enough. The customer must only bring 1,000 for you to supply the suit. So you can see that with this approach, we call it cost accumulation approach. You start with the selling, you know the selling price, and then, you know the cost of production, and then you add markup on the cost to get the selling price. And this approach, as you can see, it is neglecting or discriminating customers with unique paying abilities, but which are close to the 1,000 that we are charging. So how then do you go about it to make sure that you attend to as many customers as possible? You just implement what is called target costing. Target costing now, you don't start by charging, you don't start by charging by saying my cost of production is so much. No. By target costing, you ask the customer, how much do you have? You start with asking the customer, before I manufacture the suit, how much do you have? We call that competitive selling price. By giving competitive selling price. After you come up with competitive selling price, you put it there. Let's say the customer is $900. Then you say, I need a margin of 40%. You say less desired profit margin. Desired profit margin. Now, margin is 40% of 900, which is 360 minus 360. And then after deducting desired profit margin, what you get then becomes the target cost. What you then get becomes the target cost. You get that? So target cost is competitive selling price minus desired profit margin. So you now need to manufacture the same suit, which is currently costing $600. You now need to manufacture the same suit at $540. The suit is currently costing $600. You now need to manufacture the same suit at $540. So you need to reduce cost from $600 to $540 without compromising on quality. No wonder why it's a topic on quality. So what then happens is, what then happens is you now have current expected selling price. So if there's no target costing, your current expected production cost, your current expected production cost, the current expected production cost is 600. Now you do have your target cost. Your target cost is 540. So you now need to reduce cost from 600 to 540. You now need to say 600 minus 540, 60. And this 60 is called the cost gap. Cost gap means the need to reduce cost. Means there's need to reduce cost by 60 without compromising on quality. Now, the beauty of target costing is like this. Why target costing, if you may ask? The beauty of target costing is, you reduce costs before you manufacture. You start with asking the customer, how much do you have before you even manufacture the suit? So target costing is a feed-forward mechanism. It's not a feedback mechanism. Because you reduce costs before you manufacture. So target costing does not even make use of what is called variance analysis. We don't do that in target costing because it's a feed-forward mechanism. And target costing makes the firm go beyond. Beyond, it's a performance management term. We always say it in our social interactions. In Shona, we say kwakuseri. Kwakuseri, meaning beyond. When someone is telling you that you are now beyond, the person is telling you that if you continue with your current business model in light of changing in environmental variables, you are able to beat them at their game and remain profitable and competitive. So target costing, you are simply saying to the customer, how much do you have, my friend? I can work with what you have. I can work with the money you have, and I can manufacture your suit at 540. Don't worry, quality will be the same. If another customer comes and say, I've got 800, you can still do the same. So in so doing, you are now being flexible. You are now being able to attend to varying customer abilities, and in so doing, you remain competitive by target cost. You are now beginning to create value to customers. You get it? The target costing is also ideal for a product with a shorter lifespan. Such products where the need to reduce costs is so important. Now on target costing, can we write something? Just write this. Target costing. Write this. Target costing aims to control costs at early stage of production. Target costing aims to control costs at early stage of production. Target costing, it aims to control costs at early stage of production. It aims to control costs at early stage of production. Full stop. It involves the following steps. It involves the following steps. It involves the following steps. That's target costing. It involves quite a lot of steps, and we want to discuss this. It involves the following steps. I'm talking and talking, I'm talking and talking to the extent of sweating. It involves the following steps. Step number 1, the firm undertakes market research to determine competitive selling price. The firm undertakes market research to determine the competitive selling price. You get that? You undertake market research to determine competitive selling price. Full stop. Step number 2, deduct the desired profit margin from from the selling price in step 1, deduct the desired profit margin from the selling price in step 1 to get target cost. Deduct the desired profit margin from the selling price in step 1 to get the target cost. From the selling price in step 1 to get the target cost. So what are we saying? We are simply saying target cost equals competitive selling price minus desired profit margin. Competitive selling price less desired profit margin. That's target cost. Right? And then step number 3, calculate the current expected production cost. Calculate the current expected production cost, meaning the current, if you are to produce with current cost, how much is it going to cost? Current expected production cost. Right? Step number 4. If the current expected production cost is greater than the target cost, if the current expected production cost is greater than the target cost, if the current expected production cost is greater than the target cost, if the current expected production cost is greater than the target cost, comma, then a cost gap is said to exist. Then a cost gap is said to exist. A cost gap is said to exist. A cost gap is said to exist. Full stop. A cost gap is said to exist. Full stop. Write this. Management must then come up with ways to reduce the cost gap without compromising on quality. Management must then come up with ways to reduce the cost gap without compromising on quality. Management must then come up with ways to reduce the cost gap without compromising on quality. Without compromising on quality, e.g., obtain cheaper suppliers of raw materials, if any. That's number 1. Obtain cheaper suppliers of raw materials, if any. Please make sure you're writing these points, because the questions I'm showing you are worth 13, 12 marks. So these are huge questions. You need enough information to get those marks. I'm saying obtain cheaper suppliers of raw materials, if any. Another is exploit any learning effect on employees. Exploit any learning curve effect on labor time. Exploit any learning curve effect on labor time. Another point is carry out functional and value analysis. Carry out functional and value analysis. Carry out functional and value analysis. And value analysis to determine activities which are, to identify and eliminate non-value adding activities or processes. To identify and eliminate non-value adding activities or processes. To identify and eliminate non-value adding activities or processes. That's called value analysis or functional analysis. To see if the functions or activities you are getting, are they contributing value to value? If not, eliminate those to save costs. Another is benchmarking with low cost producers. Benchmarking with lower cost producers. Benchmarking with lower cost producers. Another approach is undertake business process re-engineering to simplify production processes. Undertake business process re-engineering to simplify production processes and save costs. Undertake BPR to simplify business processes and save costs. E.g., by introducing technology or automating production. You may introduce technology or automate your production processes. You save a lot of costs in so doing. Introducing technology or automating your production processes. You get that? Right as a subheading, benefits of target costing. Benefits of target costing. Right, the firm is able to control costs prior to production. The firm is able to control costs before production commences. The firm is able to control costs before production commences. So we call it a feed-forward mechanism. It's a feed-forward mechanism. Another point is by finding ways to reduce the cost gap. By finding ways to reduce the cost gap. By finding ways to reduce the cost gap, the firm is ushered into a continuous improvement mode. The firm is ushered into a continuous improvement mode. The firm is ushered into a continuous improvement mode. Which is a source of competitive advantage. Which is a source of competitive advantage. When you are continually improving, it's a source of advantage. You can beat your competitors. Another is, it is ideal for a product with a shorter lifespan. It's ideal for a product with a shorter lifespan. It's ideal for a product with a shorter lifespan, where the need to control costs when the need to control costs early is important. When the need to control costs early is high, you can say it's high or huge. Okay, so there you go. As a last discussion, just right. Oh, okay. You know, the question was saying, can target costing fit into total quality management? That question. So it was for you to explain what total quality management is and what. No, the question said calculate target cost gap and explain whether target costing fits into total quality management. 10 marks. So there were marks allocated for target cost gap, around 5 marks for that. And then, can target costing fit into total quality management? That was another part. So you'd then have that as another part. Now, target costing requires all costs to be controlled before we even produce. You can see that target costing is also a zero defect philosophy, because it requires you to control every cost to reduce cost gap to zero before you manufacture. In other words, you must reduce your production cost from 600 to 540 without compromising on quality. You get that? And total quality management says everything you do it on zero defect. Target costing says control cost before you produce. You can see that these are same philosophies being spoken in different ways. Because target costing is saying reduce cost before you produce. Total quality management is saying as you produce, zero defect, make sure cost everything is 100% quality. So we are saying the same thing in a different way. So target costing, if you want to implement total quality management as a starting point, you can implement target costing and then total quality management. So target costing can be a precursor to total quality management, because total quality management always looks for how best can I make sure that I have got zero defect. Target costing is saying how best can I reduce cost gap before I manufacture. You are saying the same thing. Are you getting it? So last but not least, maybe for the next 5 minutes, write Kaizen Costing. Kaizen Costing. Kaizen, K-A-I-Z-E-N, Kaizen Costing. Right? This Kaizen is a Japanese term which means continuous improvement. Kaizen is a Japanese term which means continuous improvement. Continuous improvement. That's Kaizen costing. Right? This. It advocates for a gradual decrease in costs in small incremental amounts. It advocates for a gradual decrease in production costs in small incremental amounts. It advocates for a gradual decrease in costs in small incremental amounts. In small incremental amounts over the product's useful economic life. Over the product's life. That's Kaizen costing. It advocates for a gradual decrease in costs in small incremental amounts over the product's useful life. Or over the product's life. Just say product's life. Write this. Therefore, comma, Kaizen costing is ideal for a product with a longer lifespan. Kaizen costing is ideal for a product with a longer lifespan. It's ideal for a product with a longer lifespan. Right, so you are getting it. That's Kaizen costing. You are Kaizen means continuous improvement. You are continuously improve, reduce at a lower cost during the life. So you can start producing at a higher cost and continuously improve. Unlike target costing, it says let us do it once at inception. Kaizen costing is small incremental amounts. So that one is suitable for a product with a longer lifespan. Right? This strict adherence to Kaizen costing. Strict adherence to Kaizen costing. Strict adherence to Kaizen costing would result in actual results with favorable variances. Actual cost results, right? This actual cost results with favorable variances. Actual cost results with favorable variances becoming standards for the next period. Actual cost results with favorable variances becoming standards for the next period, and so forth and so on. Actual cost results with favorable variances becoming standards for the next period, and so on. For the next period, and so on. Okay, so what is it that I am saying? Make sure you understand this. What I'm saying is Kaizen means continuous improvement. So suppose you had said you shall use 10 kg. Standard quantity of cement was 10 kgs. And then you used 9.5 kgs of cement. It means there was a favorable, it would mean there was a favorable material usage variance. You know, that would mean material usage variance was favorable because your standard quantity was 10 kgs, actual quantity was 9.5. So there was a favorable material usage variance. Now, if you want now to use Kaizen costing, it means when you are now setting standards for the next period, you are no longer going to use 10 kgs of cement. You are now going to use 9.5. So in so doing, you continually improve. So if the next period is standard is now 9.5, you are forcing yourself to beat the 9.5 to continue improving. You are getting it. If you had set cost per kg as $20 and actual cost was 18, it means there was a favorable material price variance. Now, if you are setting standards for the next period, you are no longer going to set using 20, you are now going to set using 18. In so doing, you are continually improving because you are saying actual result, which is lower, is becoming the standard for the next period, so that you produce at even lower than the previous lower. So in so doing, you are improving. No wonder why we said Kaizen costing. That's Kaizen costing. You are getting it? So for you to improve, Kaizen costing requires a set of conditions which makes it fertile. So number one condition is that the product must have a longer lifespan. That's number one condition. Number two is that this Kaizen costing requires employee participation in decision making. Kaizen costing requires employee participation in decision making. Employee participation in decision making. You know, we call that Kaizen culture. That you can't say I want to continually improve if you are saying employees they can't make mistakes, can't participate in decision making. That's not, you can't have Kaizen costing under that environment. So open brackets and say employees must be viewed as sources of ideas, not causes of problems. Employees must be viewed as sources of ideas, not causes of problems in a Kaizen environment. Employees must be viewed as sources of ideas, not causes of problems in a Kaizen environment. Another it's the organization should be a learning organization. The organization should be a learning organization. You know, you have to be a learning organization. Open brackets and say, an entity which tolerates mistakes, an entity which tolerates mistakes, an entity which tolerates mistakes and recognize outstanding commitment towards improvement. An entity which tolerates mistakes and recognize outstanding commitment towards improvement. That's a learning organization. That's a learning organization. Okay, so next week we shall start on illustration. We have to do illustration on target costing and Kaizen costing. And then we move on Six Sigma and we wrap it up. We wrap the discussion on quality. You can see it's quite interesting and you will continue to enjoy it as you are enjoying it. So till we meet guys next week, you have a wonderful week ahead. As you can see, I'm about to join another lecture. Oh, this is a lecture which is just coming. So Timmy is Tafara, you had asked for notes, APM notes by Mr. Mpasi. Anyone with those notes, may you please send in our WhatsApp group so that those who don't have the notes can access those APM notes by Mr. Mpasi, and send the password as well. All right. So so that's it for now. Allow me to end the recording. Timmy, hang in there just a moment.